بفضل الله بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله اللهم لعن أول ظالم ظلم حق محمد وآل محمد وآخر تابع له على ذلك اللهم لعن العصابة التي جاهدت الحسين وشايعت وبايعت وتابعت على قتله اللهم لعنهم جميعا ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلق الله أجمعين محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين واللعنة الدائمة على أعدائهم أجمعين إلى قيام يوم الدين. One of the things that gives people a comfortable life, and this has been done through many studies where they've actually studies that have extended for over 70 years. The studies have gone that they've followed people's lives and different levels, the affluent and the impoverished and everyone, different societies. They found one of the things that gave them longevity and happiness in life was how good their relationships were. And all their relationships. But there are many different relationships in the community. There are relationships between partners. And when I say partners, I don't mean the new adopted term of partners. I mean like cooperations, as in business partners, people that actually work together. There are relationships that you may have between a teacher and a student. And I don't mean the newfound relationships that they have now either. Each one are going to end up somewhere. But anyway, we're reaching the end of the month, so bear with me for a moment. And then there's the relationships that we have between a regal member, a royal member of the family, a king or a ruling body and his subjects. And there's relationships generally between the ruler and the ruled, whoever the government is in its charge. And all these above relationships are situational relationships, meaning that I am considered to be a citizen under the ruling body of this government as long as this government is in rule. If I leave this country, then the situation changes, isn't that right? If the government changes, that also changes the situation. Likewise with all these other situations. If the business falls apart, this person is no longer my partner in the business. Then there are the other relationships that don't have an expiry or a termination date. Because they are not, there's no way where the situation terminates. And these are the real relationships. Parents with children. Parent and a child relationship is a real relationship. You can't choose your biological parents. They are your parents or they're not your parents. It's a real relationship. And you cannot disassociate your parent from your parents in any way. Even sometimes you see someone that has a bad parent, a bad father or a bad mother, and they wish this wasn't my father. And the Imam says, Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam in Risalat al-Huquq, when he says, فَأَمَّا أَبَاكِ, he says, فَعْلَمْ أَنَّهُ أَصْلَكَ أَنَّهُ أَصْلُكَ عفوا, that your father is your origin. Regardless of whether you accept that's your origin, this is where you came from. And he says, وَأَنَّكَ فَرَعُ, that you are what? A branch of him, you are a part of him. You cannot deny this. So this might be something that you don't like, but it's a real relationship. You are from him. And if it wasn't for him, the Imam says, you would not be. Whether you like that or not, if it isn't for your father, you would not exist. So this is how real this relationship is. However, one we said is a situational relationship. The other is a real relationship. But is it an even relationship? No. Is it an equal relationship? No. The relationship between you and your parents, the parents have always got the upper hand. The only real relationship where there is equality is the relationship of brotherhood in Islam. It's the only relationship where the relationship is equal. And Allah says in the Quran, إِنَّمَا الْمُؤْمِنُونَ إِخْوَةً, that believers are brothers. That everyone that is a believer is your brother. Even you have this openly in the narrations where the Imam will say about a person that this man is my brother. And they will say, O son of Rasulullah, but he is not your brother. Why would you lie? He says, I am not lying. Do you not read the Quran? The Quran says, إِنَّمَا, most certainly, al-mu'minuna ikhwa. Believers are brothers. And this is a real relationship that's been endowed upon us by Allah Azza wa Jal and been given to us by Allah Azza wa Jal. So there's no way that I can avoid this, and I cannot find a way out of. In one narration, and because generally when it comes to brotherhood, people measure it differently. They try and look at brotherhood, well, this guy, min jama'atna, that means that this guy's from where I am, in the region I'm from, the same race. But we don't have this. In brotherhood, it's vast. When the Imam wants to describe what this brotherhood is, from a person from a faraway land, a land that's away from the Arabian Peninsula, he says that this man is my brother. It's a long story. I'm just going to give the terms he gives. He says that this man is akhun fi kitabillah. In the book of Allah, this man is a Muslim. He is my brother. He's a believer. And then he says, wajarun fi biladillah. And this person being from a neighboring country is my neighbor in the land of God. First, he is my brother by the book of God. By the land of God, he is my neighbor. And then he adds a further thing. He says, يَجْمَعُنَا وَإِيَّا خَيْرُ الْآبَاءِ آدَمَ. So not only that, we are even related by blood. Our great-grandfather is Adam. So we're brothers by religion, neighbors in the lands, and Adam makes us brothers as well. And what the Imam wants to let you know, that regardless of everything that you try and differentiate with others, they are your brothers. A believer is your brother. And that I have to hold firm to this belief and firm to this thought. And all the creatures in the lands, all the humans living around you that believe a brotherhood by the rule of Allah Azza wa Jal. That's not where I can choose where I'm from to say that this person's from the same region I'm from, then he's my brother. Or this person's the same skin color as me, then he is my brother. It's about what Allah Azza wa Jal decreed, and that is His faith. Now, in fact, when it comes to racism, this is one of the things Islam fought. This is one of the things Islam stood against. Even if you take a look at the marja'i, when you look at ijtihad, or someone that you have to follow, there are conditions that they look for. They look for someone sane. Sane means that they're in their correct mind. They look if they're from legitimate birth. They look for this person if he is a believer in the 12 Imams. So he has to be a believer in this in order to be able to give their laws. He has to be someone that is living, so is accessible. He has to be someone that has reached the age of bulugh, so he is someone that is rational in his thinking. It doesn't ever say that this person has to be of a certain color, or a certain race, or a certain lineage. That this person has to be from this family, otherwise he cannot be a faqih. Has to be from this certain family. He has to be from this nobility or this line for them to be accepted. In fact, Allah Azza wa Jalla at the beginning of Islam, He showed this to the people. He brought people near to Rasulullah that those that were caught up in racism couldn't handle. That someone like Salman al-Farsi would later be known as Salman al-Muhammadi sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala. A Persian. And in fact, when they speak of Persians, they call them Ajam. It's basically like saying that these people are non-Arabs. And they don't say as in Ajam, as in non-Arabic in the general sense. They say as in Ajam is in their lesser. And they considered him lesser even when the second Caliph took over rule. He expelled all the non-Arabs from the peninsula. He moved them straight out. Rasulullah brought him near and brought him close. Rasulullah even had Bilal al-Habashi to get up and perform the adhan. And when he used to perform the adhan, it wasn't like he stood, if you see now you have your minarets, they used to actually get up on the Kaaba and do the adhan. On top of the Kaaba, he'd stand and he would call the adhan. And the people, they could not handle this. Even some of the older Arabs, they would say, I wish I had died and not seen this. Because of their racism, the deep-rooted racism. One of them would even say, he said, glory be to God that my father died and did not even have to witness what I'm witnessing. That this is how much it affected them. And there were many other really racist things you will find in the narrations. Whereas Allah Azza wa Jal tells you that the measuring stick and what He measures people with is piety. Inna akramakum inda Allah atqakum. And He makes this clear. We don't have anything where you're going to get favorable treatment for who you are or what you were from. There's no favorable treating in the eyes of Allah Azza wa Jal, because there's no relation to Allah. Allah doesn't have brothers, Allah doesn't have cousins, He doesn't have family. There's no way where I can attain this nearness and this treatment in any way. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam mentions in the narration, he says, Al-mu'minuna ikhwa tatakafa dima'uhum wa hum yadun ala man siwahum yas'a bidhimmatihim adnahum. That the believers, he says, are brothers. First thing, al-mu'minuna ikhwa. He says, tatakafa dima'uhum. Tatakafa dima'uhum, their blood is one. It's equal. So blood of a believer is being shed, it's like your blood being shed. Not different. This is how I must feel. I should not be indifferent to this. وَهُمْ يَدٌ عَلَى مَنْ سِوَاهُمْ. That they're one hand against whoever's against them. Whoever is against the believers, they are all against this person. That they stand, that you walk and you move as a unit. You stand as a single entity. So someone might forego this right, but you as an individual cannot. I remember one of the brothers was telling me, Allah yarhamu, he's passed. He told me, I was praying in the Baqiyah. In the Baqiyah, this is before, now you won't see this anymore. But back then, we used to go into the Baqiyah and we used to actually, I'm telling you this story is about almost 20 years ago. We used to pray in the actual Baqiyah. We'd walk in and we would do ziyarah on the ground outside. We used to pray because we considered this to be a holy place. This is the burial of the A'immah alayhim salam place. So he was praying his 2 rak'at there. As he was about to do takbir, a big man grabbed him on the shoulder and said to him, don't pray here. He said, I turned around arrogantly and I said, Shu'alak alayhi, what's it to you if I pray here? He said, I'm not one of them, but if you pray here, they will attack you. They'll arrest you. And then he was telling us a story, he said to him, I can bear their strikes, I'll pray for, even if I'm being hit. I'll accept that beating. He said, you will accept it, but I won't, so I'll be arrested too. You may accept being hit, but I won't accept that you're being hit. You're my brother. So you're going to harm me by praying. So this man's intention and his opinion is we are one unit. لَعْلَيْكَ عَلَيْهِ. What's upon you is upon me. What affects you affects me. And any time you see anything happening around the world to any of the believers, has to be something of effect towards you. You have to be affected by this. You cannot be indifferent to what you see around the world. I cannot say, well, that's their problem, not mine. This is why I have to speak out. I have to open my mouth in these situations. Amir al-Mu'mineen, salawatullahi salamu alayh, he says, لا يكون أخوك أقوى منك على مودته. Do not let your brother be more in regard of love towards you, more loving towards you than what you are to them. In other words, you need to, although this person does not have that affection to you, but because they're a believer, you should have that affection. Your affection should be stronger towards them than what theirs is. You have to turn and be protective of them, and you have to be around them in this manner. So when someone is hurting, you're hurting. If you see someone with a problem, it's your problem. It's not mishkil to hu, it's his problem, I'll just move on. And this individualism is pretty much what capitalism is. And I'm not being a socialist. Socialism is worse than capitalism. Capitalism is the lesser of the two evils. But capitalism, this is the problem. It's about individual prosperity. It's about me being rich. Who cares about whose head I step on as long as I become successful? Socialism, which is also wrong, is not in discussion right now. But the whole idea in Islam is I need to care about all those around me. If someone's hurting, I need to hurt. I need to be affected by this. I need to be around these people. One of the main reasons why we have Salat al-Jama'ah, why do we have Salat al-Jama'ah? Besides the fact if someone has waswas or shak, he can just join the group and he's safe. One of the main reasons for Salat al-Jama'ah congregation is you see your believing brothers and sisters. You see your believing brothers, you're sitting with them. See, that's Western influence. I had to add the feminine. I was used to saying mankind, now I say humankind. They're destroying me. So anyway, you're there around the believers. You see their problems. You feel their problems. Someone walks in, you see them. You go, you know what? You look down today. You wouldn't believe how many times you walk in. You would know from entering places and someone says something. Yeah, I know someone. Or I can fix that for you. And if you didn't turn up to these places, you would not be able to address the problem that they have. Al-Imam al-Baqir, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, says in a narration, he says, Bi's al-akh, the worst of the brothers. Akhun yar'aka ghaniyan wa yaqta'uka faqiran. He says the worst brother is the one that basically shows what? Stays with you while you're in affluence, while you have money. You know those friends when you buy a new car and you get all these... Have you ever met a guy, you know him all your life, then suddenly he buys a brand new car. He buys a brand new car and next thing you see two people in the back of the car you don't even know from a bar of soap. You think, when did he find these guys? You know, those guys that just hang around, Klingons. You know, like they're like barnacles on a boat. You know, they just cling there. They just turn up and then when the money's gone, they're the first that disappear. Imam al-Baqir says, these are the worst brothers. They were there with you when you're rich, when you're poor, they leave you. Now, let's take a look at what a real brother is. What is a true brother? What is the meaning of being a brother? Al-Imam Amir al-Mu'mineen, Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He says, إِنَّ أَخَاكَ حَقًّا مَنْ غَفَرَ زَلَّتَكَ. Your true brother, a true friend, a true brother is someone that overlooks what? Or forgives what? Your mistakes, your lapses. That's a true friend. A true friend overlooks when you do something wrong. Because their friendship, their brotherhood is more important than for them to keep pinpointing everything you've done wrong to them. They overlook it. Then he says from this, he says, وَسَدَّ خَلَّتَكَ. وَسَدَّ خَلَّتَكَ. You know, sometimes you have something, a need, you're missing something. He fills that for you. He fills a void that you have. You're in need, they give you. Sometimes it's not financial need. Sometimes it's moral need. Sometimes you see a friend that's down. You know, you go, oh, Bukra, I've got work, I've got to go to sleep. No, call them, maybe they need you. Sometimes someone calls you at 10 o'clock at night. They call you. They don't usually call you. So they just call and they go, oh, I was just asking about you. No. They're calling you because they're calling out and no one's hearing them. He said, Tfaddal, ahla wa sahla. Come to my house. Because they need someone. They need someone to talk. A brother can see this. He doesn't say, oh, I've got work tomorrow. And they, especially if I'm a routine type person, I can't break that down. No. Someone's out there. They need help. You got to have that feeling. Why would they be calling me? Think ahead. Have foresight. I'm in need. I don't wait for my brother to ask what their need is. I see what their need is and I fulfill it. Then he says, وَقَبِلَ عُذْرَكَ. This is one of the worst things. Sometimes you have a brother that doesn't accept your excuses. This person accepts what your excuse is. Sometimes an excuse can be so simple. Sometimes denial is an excuse. I could have done something wrong by you. And then you mention that you did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and I deny it. The narration says accept that. That's remorse. The fact they even deny it. That's enough for you to accept that. That's remorse. That's the excuse. That they're too ashamed to tell you that they did do it. So they say, no, it wasn't me. He says, just accept that. Move on. Because your brother, you need to overlook this. And then it says, وَسَتَرَ عَوْرَتَكَ. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, وَسَتَرَ عَوْرَتَكَ. One of the worst things people do is their brothers, their best friends, and then one day they just have a banquet with each other on one of their brothers. They'll sit there and they'll expose whatever's hidden about this person. And then the next day, here you go, brother, they're best friends, and the whole night he was devouring his flesh. And they expose them, they let everyone know about them. Have you seen these issues? You see them in the world today. Two guys, they're brothers, they're friends. They're having discussions on private conversations on social media. The second they break up, or they're not friends anymore, one person takes a photo of the whole dialogue or whatever sent and puts it up on social media for everyone to read. What kind of a human being is that? I wouldn't call him scum because, scum might be useful somewhere. But people are like that. They shouldn't be allowed to breathe air, seriously. This should be a commodity for them that they can't afford. Really, if you do something like that, rather than cover up the faults of your brother, you expose them. Worse still are the ones when they hear something about someone, they hear something about you, they come and tell you and do fitna between you and someone else. A true brother doesn't come and inform you when someone's talking about you. A true brother defends you behind your back. They don't come and tell you behind your back, they'll stand up and they'll defend you. And then the Imam says, besides this, hiding someone's vices, he says, وَنَفَى وَجَلَكَ وَحَقَّقَ أَمَلَكَ. Firstly, nafa wajalak means that, sometimes you're afraid of something. There's a fear coming. A true brother removes this fear. How does he do it? By giving you hope. And sometimes tell someone, I've got your back. I'm with you all the time. I'm around and I'm there for you. So if they have any fears ahead, that you're with them. Or bisibak bisibna. Like that. You need to have that attitude. Whatever afflicts you, afflicts me. And the other thing he mentions, وَحَقَّقَ أَمَلَكَ. A true brother, when you have expectations of them, they live up to these expectations. You expect something from them, they live up to the expectation you have. Not one of those friends, those friends that when you talk to them, they're like a mirage. لا بيقدم ولا بيأخر. He tells you everything you can do. That friend that you say, oh, you know what, I changed the rims on my car. Yeah, how much did you pay for them? You say I paid $2,000. I got a friend that could have done them for you for $800. Those friends, they're the worst people. They are the worst people in this manner. They put you down, they don't let you, and the thing is, if you were to turn on them and say, listen, well, I want to change the tiles of my house, they go, yeah, I don't know any tiler. Because you haven't done it yet. But had you done it, he knew about 20 tilers that would have done it for you for free. They're the worst people to associate. And the Imam's telling you the best of brothers are the ones that fulfill all these things. Another thing Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wasallam says, خير إخوانك من أعانك على طاعة الله وصدك عن معصيته وأمرك برضاه. Your best brothers are the ones that help you in obedience to Allah. Sometimes they don't need to say something. When you sit with them, you remember God. I sit with a brother and I remember God. You know, there's other people that you sit with them and you just get satanic thoughts when you're with them. You sit with these people, you go, this guy's got no limits. Yeah, I could tell him to do anything right now, he'll do it right now publicly. They're the worst, brother. The best brothers are the ones that bring you along to the obedience of Allah and keep you away from disobeying Allah. If you're going to do something wrong, they say, khaf Allah. This is something Allah Azza wa Jal would not accept, and they will command you, they order you to please Allah Azza wa Jal. In fact, not only that, a good brother, al-mu'min mar'atul mu'min, a good brother is like your mirror. Where Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam says, أحب إخواني إلي من أهدى عيوبي إلي. My most beloved brother is the one that exposes my faults to me, shows me my faults, shows me where am I wrong. People don't need flattery. The truth hurts. You know, sometimes when you tell someone the truth about themselves, they get hurt. It's not easy to be told the truth about yourself. But you need to be told these things, otherwise you cannot. Could you imagine you are with a friend and this friend's really stingy? And every time you go, you know those guys, you turn up somewhere and he goes, I don't have my wallet. You know, their wallet's always in the car for some amazing reason. They never have a cent with them. You know, and they always avoid paying bills. They always don't have any money. And you know, like you'll sit with them and they could have 2 homes and a 3rd mortgage and they're always crying. You feel like, I need to pay this guy's mortgage because he's so poor. They don't know, but they have so much money. Your problem is, and I'll tell you, this is a fact, this is something I've felt in my life. My problem was I never told the guy. You have to tell them. Turn around and say, listen mate, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. You're supposed to turn around and say, listen mate, you're supposed to say, you make Ebenezer Scrooge look like a good man. This is what you're doing. I need to be able to express myself with my brother. And if I don't express myself, then what is the use of my relationship with him as a brother? Now finally, a brother that the Imam is asked about, Al-Amir al-Mu'mineen, he's asked about which brother is the most evil. Or basic in the narration it says, Ayu sahib al-shar. That someone that is a companion or friend that is vicious or has vices or evil. Who is the worst kind of friend for someone to have or an associate? And the Imam uses a very specific term. He says, Al-Muzayyin laka ma'asiyatullah. Al-Muzayyin. See, there's a difference when someone actually calls you to commit sin. For example, someone could come straight out and say, listen, we're going clubbing on the weekend. Tonight, let's go clubbing. And they could just express that, I'm going to a nightclub tonight. Or they tell you, listen, I'm going to go to a party, we're going to get drunk. And they just state facts. Worse is the one that makes it so good and makes it sound in a manner where it's acceptable. You know, like he turns around and says, listen, أعمل لدنياك كأنك تعيش أبدا. That you do for this world as if you're going to live forever. You know, or I remember one guy, the best excuse I ever heard, one guy goes to me, Sah, he says, I drink, I party, I do this, but Musa killed a man. I'm surely better than Musa. To that point, Musa killed a man. So he wanted to make his actions excusable. That I can get away with it because even Kalimullah killed a person. The Imam says this is the worst of companions. Because when they want to make you do an action, they will not only make this action available to you, they'll make it very attractive. They'll make it very appealing to the eye, that you think, you know what, I could get away with this. And it could be accepted and I could live a normal life afterwards. So when it comes to brotherhood, I need to seek someone in my life that makes me happy. And the only way that they make me happy is when I benefit from them and they benefit from me. And the biggest benefit I can gain from them is with regard to my hereafter and also towards this world. We ask Allah Azza wa Jal to fill our hearts with love for one another, that we forgive each other our transgressions to one another, and strengthen the brotherhood between the believers. Walhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.